So tonight we're going to be doing a product shoot which is going to be used in a wedding fair. Now I thought that this would be a fantastic opportunity to do some BTS because it's been a while since I've done this. Now this request has come out, not so much come out of left field, but it's come in later than I usually like to do some planning. So I'm gonna have to use a lot of my own creativity tonight to really get through this. But what I thought was is that I'd fetch you guys along because it would be interesting to see how this pans out. So today I've got to still do my day job, and that is the caveat of working your day job and trying to set up a media company, and that's where I'm still at right now. So all the goals that I had for just before for COVID still apply. It's just that that timeline has had to shift. So what we're going to do today is we're going to literally set the gear up, which I'll show you a little bit later, and then we'll go on to the product shoot and show you the end footage. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good one today. It's certainly going to be interesting and fast paced, so I got a lot to do. So I'll see you in a bit. Taking the C stands and some light stands with this modified slider which is being used as an overhead rig. That'll allow me to do some 360 shots around a particular product, and I've got the tripod with the fly cam which is being used as my makeshift 360 device. So if you wait a second. Because it has the weights, I can counterbalance the camera on that, and with the fluid head I can get some nice 360 shots, so that can be rigged overhead using that. Now the cameras that we are taking are the GH5 and the G7. The G7 will be used on that rig because it's a lighter camera and you've got to be careful with load. But in that 10-bus Cinelex bag we have the two cameras, some lenses, all the filters that I need, and the batteries for the cameras themselves, and a light meter. So that's holding all that stuff. For the modifier for the light we're using a 52-inch umbrella, and that has diffusion, so that's going to provide us with a nice large source of light, and it's also very light as well. Excuse the pun, it's very lightweight. Now for the other bag, this is going to be my cob and some Godox R1s, which will allow me to do some accent lighting. We've got the power supply for the light itself, and we're going to use an Edelkrone head one. There's two in there just in case I want to do some turntable type effects. The rest of it then is merely cables and just other stuff that I might potentially need. So that is it. That is what I'm taking today. I might not need it all, and it might be a simpler shot, but see how it goes. So it turns out that doing a client shoot and getting BTS at the same time is bloody difficult, and that's why it is preferable to have a second shooter, because it allows you to really focus on one job at a time. What I did manage to do was to actually get some photos of the actual setup so we can talk through that. Now the shoot went very well, and I'm really happy, and that's because I had to get out of my own creative head, and the reason being for that is I think as creatives we try to make things too complicated, and we need to really value the customer's time. And knowing that I had 19 products to shoot, I needed to keep it simple, and that is the biggest takeaway from this, was making sure that I kept it simple. So that overhead rig that I created to do a full 360 of the product and everything, I completely abandoned that. I didn't even set it up. What I did use was the Edelkrone head one, and I decided that we're just going to get a nice 360 of the product, and then we're going to make the background and everything else visually interesting, so that then we can make this repeatable, and that all we needed to do was just place the product on the turntable, get the shot, and then do the next one, and that is what we've done. So at the back we've got 2 mannequins which had bridal dresses. Now these were placed off to the side of a big love heart which had lights in it, and then behind that then we had netting with some fairy lights, so that provided the background which made it look really nice. Now for the table, that was long enough that we could put the actual product at the front, which provided enough depth away from the background so that we had good separation, so that was great. And then we placed 2 flowers either side of that table, just on the corners, just to make the background just pop a little bit more, just to add a bit more visual interest. Now for the lighting, we wanted to make this high key, so what I done was I provided soft lighting overhead, which was using the light that we've got today, which is the 51-inch parabolic umbrella, and that was being angled overhead. And then in the front of the actual product itself, we used the Godox R1, and both of these were set to 5600. Now what I did find is that I had to actually make the light brighter by 1 stop, because when I had the lens set at 2.8, which is what we've got now, but when I had the light set to match 2.8 on the light meter, I felt that even though it was the correct exposure, it just didn't have that high key look. So I went and I set the light to f4, which is a stop above, and that worked out perfect because it really made the image look a lot better. So I was chuffed that I made that choice, because usually I like to leave things at base exposure, but for this I decided no, we're not dealing with skin, so we're okay to get away with a bit more light on the actual subject. Once that setup was done, it was repeatable, and that showed value to the customer, because then they were able to see that we were able to produce a nice image that looked really good on camera. Now it looks simple when you see the behind the scenes, it looks simple, I'll grant you that, and I think even when I was there I was just like, is this simple? Does this look too plain? But on camera it looked lovely. So, you know, sometimes trying to get your head out of your own creative, well, I say creative destructive space, because it can really work against you. Keeping it actually simple and it still looked great in camera, and the customer could see that there was a good turnaround and that we weren't wasting their time, proved invaluable, because it meant that we were able to get through the 19 products very quickly. So that showed a massive amount of value to the customer, because they can turn around and go, do you know what, I'm going to do this again, because we've churned out so much footage, which was a big win for me. Now the editing was also very simple, so I had to transcode that to make sure it was into ProRes, and the reason being is that I have the free version of DaVinci Resolve and it doesn't accept the 10-bit from the GH5, so if you convert it you can then import that file within DaVinci Resolve. Now I set the first product up to be a template, so I had all the editing done how I wanted it. I had it set up in a way that all I needed to do is that once I received approval from the client, I could just drop that 360 footage where I wanted it, and then there was an adjustment layer which did the zoom, and everything else was in place. All I had to do was apply the color grading. So once the client approved the first draft, I then duplicated that timeline 19 times, renamed it, and then it was just a case then of dropping those 360 footage into the relevant timelines, and then adding the color grade and rendering. And then once I rendered, I then converted it then, because the file sizes are quite big. I think it comes out as ProRes, so it was quite large. I think it was nearly 2 gig, but by converting it, it got it down to 500 meg. So the client was really happy with the file size, the quality, and the turnaround was really quick. I think I got, the shoot was on Wednesday night, and I got the edit, the first draft approved, and the 19 videos delivered by Friday. So less than 48 hours. It's not bad going. I was pretty pleased with myself. So yeah, that was the shoot. in the future I'm going to try and get more behind the scenes footage. I'm going to try and work out a way of doing it better, or at least finding a way to actually do some footage while I'm doing the job rather than just taking photos, because sometimes a video is a lot better than just seeing the actual photo itself. It gives you a bit more context as to what's going on and why things are being done the way they are, as opposed to seeing this mug talking about it. So yeah, so that's for the future, and hope you like the content. If you do, give me a thumbs up, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.